Hey everyone, it's Fees, and welcome to, I don't know what this will be. We'll see what happens. Yes, of course I'd like to enable narration. Okay, cool. That's fine. Cool. So, this is To Be or Not To Be. Yeah. Written by Ryan North, the real Ryan North, and done some work by Noelle Stevenson and a bunch of other people. So this is a storybook game. I don't know, a game book game. Anyway, we'll be.
William Shakespeare, 1564 AD to whenever he died, was well known for borrowing from existing literature when writing his plays. Romeo and Juliet is pretty much lifted entirely from Arthur Brooks' poem, The Tragical History of Romeus and Juliet. Dude didn't even change the names. And as recent Shakespeare scholarship has established, the famed play William Shakespeare Presents Hamlet was lifted wholesale from the volume you are about to enjoy. To Be or Not To Be. To Be or Not To Be is both the earliest recorded example of the books as game genre, as well as the first instance ever in the then newish English language that was kicking around of an adventure being chosen by you, the reader. We've gone ahead and added illustrations, plus we've taken the liberty of marking with tiny York skulls the choices Shakespeare himself made when he plagiarized this book back in olden times. They're there in case you wish to put yourself in Shakespeare's shoes, reading this book as he did, stealing plot elements wholesale, and classing up the language as he/you went/go. However, that is not the only way to read this book. Feel free to explore your other options, as each time you read this book, you can go on a different adventure, assuming you don't read the book like 3 quadrillion times, at which point the adventures will start to repeat, and they'll probably seem pretty familiar long before then anyway. Now, take yourself back to history, when ghosts walked the earth and nobody knew velociraptors were even a thing. Steel yourself to experience the magic of Shakespeare as it was meant to be experienced, in a non-deterministic narrative structure, where you end up thinking maybe you made a wrong decision, so you mark the pages you were just on, so you can always go back and make a different choice if you die for some dumb reason. To be or not to be, that is the adventure. Choose your character. Man, what if I just read the acknowledgements instead?
Okay, so I guess it's by... Alright. So, I'm gonna hit start on a timer here, because this might be a 1 hour to impress, but we'll see. You can't tell me what to do, smart guy. I'm just gonna keep reading.
Whoa, slow down there, cowboy. At the end of that last bit, you were supposed to make a choice, and then jump to the page that reflects that choice. Instead of following those instructions, you just kept reading what came next like this is an ordinary book. This book is crazy insane. How are you even acting like this is an ordinary book? You die without even having chosen your character. The end. And your final score is maybe learn to read books better sometime. Out of 1,000. Dude, that's not a very good score, I gotta say.
Okay. Alright, let's do this. Let's go Ryan North, then. I guess let's choose our
You've
character.
just been born. Congratulations, good work on that thing. Now, surprise! Babies are boring, so we're gonna jump ahead in time to a point where you're an adult, and you've already lived a bunch of your life. But I promise most of what we're skipping over was really dull. You ate a lot and slept a lot and made some friends, tears were shed, makeouts were totally had, etc. It was a bunch of high school stuff. The awesome stuff starts now. So, let's begin, my friend. Remind me again who you are. Are you Ophelia? She's an awesome lady in her late 20s with a calm, competent, and resourceful demeanor. She's got a +1 bonus to science, but she's also got a -1 weakness against water, so heads up. Hamlet? He's an emo teen in his early 30s. Also, he's the Prince of Denmark. Hamlet has a +1 resistance to magic, but there's no magic in this adventure, so this never gets mentioned again as of right now. Hamlet Sr.? He's the King of Denmark, 50 years old. He's super good at fighting and leading men into battle in naps. Let's say +1 to each? Look, bottom line, he's an unstoppable machine of death, and should you choose to be him, you may experience kingly glory. Play as Ophelia. Play as Hamlet. Play as Hamlet Sr.
I think we have to play as Ophelia.
Right, you're Ophelia. You are a beautiful and independent young woman, and although it makes you roll your eyes when you think about it, you've fallen in love with a prince. Prince Hamlet is funny and charming, and he seems to like you a lot. You try not to get too excited about it, because you're worried you might jinx it. But things really are going great. Only it's been hard doing the long-distance thing while you've both been off at university. And while you've loved studying capital S science, and you're sure Hamlet's loved studying capital U undeclared, it hasn't been easy. Now that you're both back together in Denmark for his father's funeral and his mother's second wedding, it's been harder still. Hamlet's really sad, and you can't blame him for that since, his dad died. But you wish there was something you could do to help him. When you last saw him, Hamlet mentioned how the castle seemed cold and drafty, and for some reason it stuck with you. You've been sitting at your desk, trying to think of something you could give him that would help with that. A way of cheering him up a little. Remind him he's still got people who care about him. He wears these cloaks all the time, but then he's taking them off in warm rooms and putting them back on in cold ones. If only there was some way you could keep the rooms at a uniform temperature, he wouldn't need to be constantly adjusting his clothes throughout the day. But to do that, you'd need some way of measuring heat, and a way of transporting it through the castle, perhaps through a series of pipes. Your thoughts are interrupted by a knock at your door.
Who is it?
You call.
It's me.
Says your brother.
Come on, let me in.
Let him in. Tell him you're busy.
I'm busy.
I'm busy.
You shout through the door to Larides.
I'm leaving for France soon.
He shouts back.
Don't you want to say goodbye? Apparently not.
You shout in reply.
Whatever.
Larides yells. He storms off, stomping all the way. You sit in silence for a moment. He stomps back.
Say bye to Dad for me, okay?
He shouts.
Okay, I will.
You yell through the door. He storms off again. To France, I guess? Brothers, am I right? Return to your work.
Okay, this is... This is definitely not
At your
Hamlet.
desk, you continue your work on the problem of automatically heating the castle. Hours turn into days and you're generally left alone by both your family and your boyfriend. Your father ignoring you is no big deal, and while you're a little worried about Hamlet not stopping by more often, he has asked you to leave him alone for a while he mourns, and you're respecting his wishes. But if you're going to be honest with yourself, you've also just gotten really absorbed in this problem. You decide to split the problem into sections, delivering heat and knowing when to deliver heat. It would be possible to put servants in every room and have them report when it's too cold, but that's both expensive and unreliable. It depends on the servant, the warmth of their clothes, how much they love to lie to people about what temperature their skin is sensing, and so on. You're wandering the castle grounds when it hits you. You've been thinking about how water expands when it freezes, and how that could be used to tell you when it's cold, but it's not much use for measuring temperatures outside the freezing point. Your father, Polonius, happens to wander by, talking to himself about the evils of drink, and you realize, alcohol! The right alcohol would expand linearly with heat, and by putting it in a slender glass vial, you could measure the size of that liquid, which would correspond 1-to-1 with temperature. Put the same markings on each of these glass vials at the same temperatures, and you've got a universal, comparable, and consistent way of measuring heat. You wouldn't have to rely on a servant's impression. They could just tell you what line the alcohol has reached. You run back to your room to start working on the prototype. Just as you complete it, you hear a knock at your door.
Who is it?
You call, and oh my, who should answer from the other side of the door? Seriously, who should answer from the other side of the door? Your boyfriend Hamlet. Your father Polonius. Your best friend Dramysio Mimus.
Okay, this is really cool. I just really like that, it's just a completely different story, and it just happens to be like an AU of Hamlet. This is really well done. I like this. Let's go with our best friend. Fuck Hamlet. I don't care shit about Hamlet.
Hamlet is at the door. That's right. Turns out that simply wishing for someone to be at your door doesn't change who's actually there.
Oh.
You don't control reality with your thoughts, Ophelia. Sheesh.
Well, fine.
Anyway, Hamlet opens the door and steps into your room. "It's me," he says. You haven't seen each other for a while. It's so great to see him. You run up and throw your arms around him and you smooch. It's just like old times. But the moment passes, and when you look at his face, you can see concern written all over it. He's troubled by something. Ask him what's troubling him. Wait for him to tell you. You wait, doing nothing, and he pulls away from you and holds you at arm's length. "Listen," he says. And then he begins unbuttoning his jacket, taking his garters off, and oh gosh, yes, he's actually doing it. He's fouling his stockings.
What's wrong, Hamlet?
You ask in alarm. What you say next sounds like the obvious question, but you ask it anyway.
Why are you fouling your stockings?
Instead of answering, he grabs you by the wrist. You come to the entirely obvious conclusion that he's not acting like himself. This conclusion is reinforced in the next few moments, when he moves his other hand to his forehead as if he might faint. But instead of fainting, he stares at you intensely.
What?
Hamlet, I don't know why you're doing this.
You begin, and he sighs really loudly. It's the most intense sigh you've ever heard. It's actually kind of impressive.
Look, if you'll just talk to me, we can
You begin, and he sighs again, so loudly that it literally drowns out your words.
Fine, weirdo. Let's play the wrist-holding game. Yay!
You meet his eyes, and he
What
sighs
is
one of those
happening?
ultimate sighs again, then gets up and leaves in what can only be described as the creepiest way possible, walking with his head wrenched over his shoulder so he can watch you even as he crab walks out the door. Well, that was weird. Maybe
What?
he's sick. You decide to check in with your dad because, as annoying as he is, he does have some experience in these matters.
What?
Follow Hamlet and ask him what's wrong. Maybe you can help him sort things out.
Let's just go. Let's see where this takes us.
You ask him what's wrong, and, well, there's no other way to put this, so I'll give it to you straight. Hamlet tells you about a spooky ghost and a plan for murdering his stepfather Claudius, pretender to the throne. I'll be frank, it sounds crazy. A ghost? Murder? But he is your friend and lover, and you're not going to leave him hanging out to dry. As gently as you can, you tell him you're pretty sure ghosts don't exist. But even if they do, he needs to be certain that the ghost he saw was actually the ghost of his father. What if it was some other ghost trying to mess things up? That seems to give him pause. Hamlet admits he never actually asked the ghost for information only his dad would know. It's possible the ghost could be an imposter.
I'll come with you tonight, sweetie.
You say.
We'll go together, and if a ghost shows up, we'll figure out what to do.
You're confident no ghost will appear, and this will all just go away. You take his hand and squeeze. Hamlet looks up at you, and you can see his relief. Okay, he says, smiling.
What
Go
the
to see
fuck?
the ghost that evening.
What the fuck is happening right now? I am... Alright, so we just invented a thermometer and our boyfriend is really weird, so... Cool. Let's go see a ghost.
Evening comes, and Hamlet leads you to the spot outside where he first saw the ghost. We have to wait till around midnight, he says. I think that's when he normally shows up. To pass the time, you play a storytelling game you enjoy, where you say one word of a story, and he says the next word, and neither of you knows where the story will go.
Once,
You begin. Upon, he says.
a
You say. Time, he says.
there,
You say. Was, he says.
a
You say. Beautiful, he says, looking at you. You smile.
prince,
You reply, and he smiles back. Who? He says.
wanted,
You say. Two, he says.
kiss.
You say. His girlfriend, he says.
That's cheating.
You say. And then you're kissing.
Oh my
Make out
god,
for a
what
while.
nerds.
Don't make out, because, and you can't believe you're thinking this, but what if a ghost catches you making out?
Okay, we have to go with the second option.
You turn your head away after a few smooches.
That's enough.
You say.
We don't want your dad catching us making out.
Hamlet grins and pulls you close to him. I think he'd be cool with it, he says. That's a weird thing to say, but you excuse it
Little
because
bit.
you know people can say some really weird things when they're way horny. You kiss some more, but finally push him away for real this time.
What makes you think he wants to spend the afterlife watching us make out? You say. Well, it's what I'd want to do, he says.
Oh my
with a smile.
god.
I mean, if I were me and I was also the ghost, he explains.
Well,
You're about to reply when you're interrupted by an awkward cough coming from above you? Looking up, you see what for all the world looks like Hamlet's dad, Hamlet Sr., only he's transparent and floating, and you can see through his bod.
Hey guys.
The ghost says.
oh my god.
You're too shocked to say anything. Ghosts are real, Ophelia. Surprise. Hamlet looks up at the ghost and waves. Hi, Dad, he says. Demand the ghost prove that he's who he claims to be.
Oh.
It doesn't matter who he is. The real question is if this ghost is so big into murdering dudes, why doesn't he just murder Claudius himself? Riddle him that.
Let's go with option 1.
Excuse me, you say. The ghost pretends not to hear you. Excuse me, Mr. Ghost? You inquire, raising your hand.
Sup?
Says the ghost. How do we know you're really Hamlet Sr.? You ask.
Oh.
Says the ghost.
Oh. I guess. Ask me some things only Hamlet's dad would know.
You do so. They're pretty boring questions about family junk. You're not missing out on anything by me not including them here. And the ghost answers them perfectly. Better still, he answers them as only Hamlet Sr. could answer them, and even makes a reference to a running joke you two had a few months ago.
I can't gobble this.
Says the ghost. And then together the two of you shout, "It's too spicy!" And then you're laughing like what you just said is the funniest thing ever in time. I don't get it. I guess you had to be there. Anyway, this is totally the ghost of Hamlet's dad. Identity confirmed.
This is
Talk about the murder.
ridiculous. I almost okay, so this is gonna be an indie bin. And I think I'm gonna leave it here. Because I don't want to play through the whole game. Because instead I want you to go buy it and play it. This is 100% worth it. So, anyway, yeah. Does this have a save? Can I save where I'm at? Okay, it has checkpoints. Okay, cool. So, anyway, oh yeah, there's artwork you can unlock. You unlock, like, art galleries and stuff like that from all of Noel Stevenson's artwork and all that stuff. It's pretty chill. Oh. Okay, so, having some slight issues with it, I accidentally, yeah. Noel Stevenson, illustrator, comic artist known among internet circles as Ginger Hayes. She is the author of Nimona. That was long done now. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, have a nice night, everyone. The game just kind of minimized itself, and then the recording stopped, so I can't really do anything. Anyway, yeah, go buy this, and play it, and actually see how everything goes. And make your own choices. Night, everyone.